Look who is back! Okay, technically Scarlett never left, but I haven't been able to cast one of her games in ages. Nothing since she joined her sexy new team, Shopify Rebellion. Oh, that's a pylon go by Trap's probe there. That means we're potentially looking at a dirty hatch block. Don't ever change, Trap. Don't ever change. Anywho, Scarlett has got to be a pretty significant underdog in this series. She's been very vocal about Protoss being her weakest race, and despite my light-hearted trash talk of poor Trap, he is the #1 power rank Protoss in the world. Our Canadian player is going to have her Zergling claws very full. Scarlett's not going to compete for the natural, she goes straight to an unnatural natural at her triangular third, and that forces her primary expansion to be closer to her opponent than she would want. But even if that makes her angry, fills her with rage, she won't be seeing red because she's Scarlett!
Current world rank 37.
Okay, now I'm stoked. I don't know if I caught it very well with the observing, but Trap did something kind of cool there. He got confirmation of Scarlett's expansion from the high ground with his probe. He got all the intel without having to leave Scarlett's main, which means he confirmed that fool timing, though there was no surprise there. And that lets him go Nexus Core back at his own base with confidence. One more intro. Indiana Jones has taught us that when you're pursuing ancient artifacts, there might be a trap!
Current world rank 7.
That looks like a tech stashing pylon going down for Trap there. Having done his mineral burst, he's adding his second gas. Scarlett's hatch pops, and on the map 2000 atmospheres, you see the creep float up to the surface, yet somehow it's on the bedrock below. I think the number 2000 stands for the number of graphical mysteries that this map holds. Personally, I love every one of them. Anywho, it's a 2-queen, 2-ling opening for Scarlett. Trap's core completes, he goes for a chrono boosted adept with warp gate research, and it's gonna be a Stargate. Hiding up in the top left corner of his main, far away from that prying overlord. Scarlett puts down her third at that natural position, and she has ling speed underway. Trap's first adept is out, but it's not going anywhere. She is remaining at home, possibly waiting for her sister to be produced so they can join forces. Or Trap has anticipated that Scarlett has a ling and is looking to sneak in for the scout. I think that's what that ling is up to. It might just be checking the timing on the third. The Stargate is going to finish up, and then we'll get some insight as to what Trap has planned for us. Oracle, Void Ray, Phoenix, it is Void Ray. Oh, the ling is trying to get inside. There is a hole there, but Scarlett cannot get by double adepts, and that will be a first blood. One trend I'm definitely seeing is that I don't get to bust out the Zerg first blood graphic very often. I know this is going to sound crazy, but it's almost like Zerg players don't care about first blood as much as I do. Oh, blind spore in the main for Scarlett, and then she's going to sack a slow lord to see what she can see in the main. And it looks like she's going to find out that there's a Stargate by default. The Overlord will become the Void Ray's first victim. Shouldn't the Overlord be cauterized? I feel like it should solidify into a black chunk of carbon. The Adept shade into the main and they get the scout and see that spore. Scarlett's lings force the cancel on the shade. Trap's going to go ahead and put down his third nexus. Scarlett's going to use the opportunity to make a big round of 6 drones. And just like all Zerg players these days, she's cranking out a supernatural number of queens. She definitely wants those if there's gonna be Void Rays. And unbeknownst to Scarlett, Trap's also made an Oracle. And now he's actually going ahead and adding a second Stargate. We've seen Trap do this before and he's very good at it. Void Ray's gonna hit and so is the Oracle. He's gonna try to stretch the defense here. It works, the Oracle snuck inside for some drone kills. Meanwhile, the Overlord's supply blocking Scarlett. 5 dead drones, and is the Oracle gonna get away? It does! Just 7 hit points left, a perfect harass by Trap. 2 Overlords and 5 drones, and he saved both of his harassers. And then he adds a Robo to go with his double Stargate build. Trap has to be happy with that opening. Scarlett tries to get a Ling Scout in and is denied. And Trap's gonna pick up another Overlord kill. Queen's gonna try to get revenge here. But the Void Ray has just enough hit points to soak the hits. Trap's third's gonna complete. Scarlett will start her lair. And she's also got a Roach Warren halfway done. She's slightly behind on drones though. She had to remake a whole bunch of Overlords. She does have an Evo chamber though. That's an opportunity to get ahead on upgrades. The Oracle's got its shield back. It's up to more mischief. There's a lot of queens blanketing the area at this point though. Trap settles for a Revelation tag and gets out of there. Lair halfway done. Trap making Void Rays 2 at a time. This strategy used to devastate Zergs about a year ago. Zerg has developed a lot of queen-intensive strategies to deal with it though. Trap picks up a Ling kill. Look at the resources loss differential. Trap hasn't lost a unit yet. Scarlett's only on 6 queens right now. Only 6. We're actually at a phase of the meta where you actually compare the word only with 6 queens. Forge and a Twilight Council go down for Protoss. That Oracle is still active. Scarlett's finished her lair and she's started up Roach speed. She's also able to make an Overseer to assist her with her scouting. She needs to know how serious an air commitment Trap is made here. Does she need to be marching her queens or going for a German taxi? Can she drone or does she need Ravagers? Scarlett elects to start her 4th hatch. Zerg does have the mineral lead. Trap setting up for an attack on that 4th hatch position. Or not, he's just taking the watchtower. Oracle dives in for a scout on the main, and Scarlett snags the kill. That's gotta feel very satisfying, but it's also her first. And she's gonna lose his scouting Overseer long before it gets to Trap's base. Meanwhile, Trap has his Robobay up and he's cranking out his first Disruptor. Scarlett will complete her Infestation Pit, enabling her to try for that top tier of tech. Trap is adding a Templar Archive and Zealot Legs. He's going for everything, including a really big Gateway Explosion. Yeah, he's not going up to 8, he's adding 8. He's going up to 10. Oh boy, Protoss is powering hard. Scarlett's adding a Hydra Den. She needs something to deal with these Void Rays. She is up to 81 drones now. With this extra base, she's gonna have the economy to really be able to pivot. Unless it's assassinated by these adepts. Scarlett pulls back her queens at the worst possible time. Fortunately, she has a stellar reaction. That could have been so much worse. She only loses 2 drones for 2 adepts. And at the same time, she's gonna go for Hive with the Lurker Den. I don't know if I love Lurkers against double Stargate, but Trap may be more of a 10 Gateway guy now. Double Disruptors can't get outside of Trap's base, but there is a Warp Prism waiting to pick him up. Trap has this timing down to a science. So Scarlett's now making a ton of Hydras, and they're all gonna have +1. Which is good, because Trap's pushing out with a huge force. Trap's looking to hit right as the Zealot Charge upgrade finishes, followed by +1 attack. And he's actually adding a 3rd Stargate. Scarlett's got the bigger army, but a lot of it is Roach. This is gonna be a scary hold for her. She's making a huge round of 16 Roaches, but she's gonna want to convert a ton of them into Ravagers. That is underway, but will they finish in time? Oh, Trap backs off. He gives Scarlett that time. How considerate. The Charge Launch hits the Queen, which frees up the Void Rays. But Scarlett has a lot of bile to force him back. I think that in classic Zerg fashion, Scarlett has made just enough units at just the right time. She proves me wrong and she battles us back. Oh, if she could get the Warp Prism, that would be huge. Trap needs to get that out of there. It's got both his Disruptors inside. Scarlett disintegrates an Archon. She's making 10 more Roaches. But then pulls back and adds some more drones. Starting up that 5th base on the right-hand side. Protoss starts researching Storm. I really like that for Trap. He knows his triple Stargate is forcing out Hydras. Hydras can really melt to a well-placed Storm. Scarlett's researching Seismic Spines. That's the range upgrade for those Lurkers. But also looking to pick up +2 ranged attack. That's going to synergize with her Hydras, her Roaches, and her Ravagers. Trap's going to try to attack again, only this time the army disparity is a lot worse for him. Having survived the first attack, she's bulked up. She's almost maxed, and she's got the income advantage. This is the first point in this game I'm starting to like her position. I do worry about what happens when Storm comes online, and Trap's researching +1 air attack. That tells me these Void Rays aren't just some experimental phase he went through in high school. Trap has long-term plans to incorporate air into his army. Both our players investing in static defense around their newest expansions. This is good discipline on both their parts in my book. A lot of pros won't do this because they can get more value out of their mobile units. But if you put them where that conflict is inevitable, you get value. Okay, Psionic Storm is coming online. This is going to be a big deal for Trap. He's let Scarlett get away from him a little bit, but this is going to synergize so well with his air. Scarlett's near max. She's looking to get on the offensive. Sniping shield batteries. That third base is so well defended. Look at this. There's no Hydras there. That makes it so hard for Scarlett. Well, I guess it helps if you have some great biles like that. She torches some zealots, but at the end of the day, she's got to flee from those void rays. Once her biles go on cooldown, she's got nothing. I wonder if Scarlett saw the warp prism that's sneaking around for the main here. Trap has 10 gates and a lot of money. A warp prism in the main could really do a lot of damage. Scarlett's got the Viper tech. That's a good answer to the disruptors. Hydra speed finishing up. Here comes that mega warp in. Excuse me, it's 11 gates. Oh, but most of the zealots are on coffee break. They're reviewing the box score from last night's game. Actually, Trap got busy defending his third. But that's going to give Scarlett the time she needs to get her Hydras together to defend her main. Still, 7 dead drones from that zealot attack. Trap's going to try again and warp in 11 more. The defense is there though, and the drones are pulled. Speaking of pulling, Scarlett gets an abduct on a disruptor. There's just nothing to stop these void rays though, except that they don't have detection. Trap's using Chrono Boost to try to fix that. Scarlett cleans up her main but can't get the offending warp prism. The lurkers are not having any success on offense, though they are doing some fabulous floaty death animations. Trap is also struggling against Scarlett's static defense, but spine crawlers will fall to void rays pretty easily. They count as armored. Yep, it's an armored plant. Oh, there it is, there's the fleet beacon, and a huge warp-in of Templar. Trap is all over this. I'm pretty sure we're looking at a carrier switch, and that's gonna make it really hard for Scarlett. She's gonna have to double down on those Hydras, which is fine, but there's gonna be a heap load of Storm waiting for her. Trap just playing the compositional science of this so well. I feel like he laid the foundation for this with his 3 gates early on. Now, I've seen Scarlett beat carriers with Hydras before. She's really good at it, but I don't know if she's ever done it with this much Storm capability. She's probably just assuming you can't use Storm on this map because everybody knows that electricity disperses in water. But somehow the gameplay marches on. Scarlett grabbing another base. Her economy is still really solid. She could transition herself here. She is maxed out and has a bank. We could see a Spire or a Spore Forest. Or just so many Hydras that she doesn't care what I think about composition. Look at those storms on the Hydras. They just melt like day-old ice cream in the sun. Possibly mint chocolate chip, but it could also be raspberry rainbow. Who am I to know the flavors involved? Oh, the zealots clear out the spine crawlers, but the pokey plants save the drones. Storm and disruptor shots, making life really hard for Hydras there. Scarlett's finishing up +1 armor, but that does not help you against Storm. Storm does what is sometimes called true damage. It's not affected by armor. Trap has carriers on the way. He's also working on a mothership. I don't know if I've ever been as worried for a player who's maxed out with a bank. Zerg has a supply advantage, an income advantage, and yet Zerg is still kind of in trouble here. If Scarlett can somehow hit Trap now and do enough damage, she needs to set him back before the carriers get here. I think she heard me. She's getting position over this base. 7 probes die in an instant to lurker spines. Scarlett's making me look like a goof. Storm schmorm. Trap's gonna have to concede this Nexus. Oh, he's getting a hatch in exchange. It's gonna be close. No, Trap gets it. I was just about to say Scarlett gets the first base kill, and Trap beats her to it. Scarlett's getting crackling upgrades with the +1 ground attack. Some people like cracklings versus carriers, but I don't know. Trap's making them 3 at a time now, and they're gonna get cloaked by the mothership. Scarlett's gonna need overseer. Oh, disruptor hits right on the lurkers. Trap's gonna remake his Nexus right in front of Scarlett. Trap's more than halfway done to getting +3 for his forces. Trap just does not have Scarlett's bank though. He's gonna have an opportunity to be hyper efficient with his composition. But if Scarlett can just get everyday trades, I think that's still a way that she can still come out on top. Trap's going up to 8 carriers. There's gonna be a lot of interceptors on the battlefield. Scarlett's gonna take her Hydra count up to 27. I would not like this rock, scissors, paper situation. But Scarlett has made it work before. And she shuts down the Zerg expansion yet again. Unfortunately, paying for it in dead Hydras. Double disruptor hits. But Scarlett does abduct one of those disruptors. Look at this, I don't think Trap wants his Void Rays anymore. He's like, I got carriers, man. I'll just squeeze whatever value you can get out of them and move on. Now, if Scarlett went for Corruptors, then he would want them. And maybe because she saw so many Void Rays, that's the reason she didn't want to go Corruptors in this game. Oh, these poor queens are going to hit a Golden Armada all by themselves. No, it's part of the plan. Scarlett's going for a surround on the Protoss Death Ball. She's going to try to hit it on multiple sides. Trap's kind of walking into this. But she can't do much until she cuts through that mothership. Trap's carriers just murder the Hydralisk to the south. Abduct on the mothership. Are there enough Hydras to actually kill it, though? Storms on the Hydras. A second abduct. A re-abduct. Scarlett will get the mothership. But her Hydra account has been decimated. She's trying to make 20 more. The interceptors are in force, and they are wrecking things. Now, there's an upgrade discrepancy, but in general, the carriers have about a third more DPS than the Hydras. And they have 100% more DPS than dead Hydras, such as the one that just splatted under monitor. Oh, and Trap is gonna get the Roach Warren. I don't know if Scarlett can group her Hydras up enough to fight this off. Another possibility would be an Ultralisk Cavern, but there's just not enough time to get that now. The Hydras are dying before Scarlett can get shots up, and she taps out. You don't see players tap out with a 3,000 mineral bank very often, but Scarlett saw the predicament that she was in. Okay, so this game illustrates the challenges that Zerg can face against Protoss in the late game. It's compositional. To beat the carriers, Zerg needs Hydras, and probably an awful lot of them. Scarlett was adding Viper abducts as well to enhance her chances, but Blizzard deliberately engineered Hydras to be vulnerable to Storm. It's buried in the patch notes. Here, Trap was also using disruptors for 2 kinds of splash. Now, Scarlett knows this game isn't just compositional, it's also positional, and at one point, she set up a really neat surround to try to solve this conundrum. But Trap swung his carriers low and put a stop to it before she could finish setting it up. Zergs are still debating over the right solution to this late-game Protoss composition, and it's inevitable that at least one or more strategies will eventually be mass adopted. There's Corruptors, of course, but there's the fear of a late-game Stalker transition now. Trap had 11 gates, and Trap also had 3 starports. That means Trap can easily, quickly, remix back in Void Rays to take advantage of the Corruptor armor type. There's the Spore Forest, but theoretically Protoss can now bust out tectonic destabilizers for their Tempest, although I've yet to really see that play out in a pro game. Queens with their Transfuse are valuable and stand up to anything for a time, but late game, you can't produce them fast enough, certainly not in a Remax scenario, and charge lots are a pretty efficient way for TOS to deal with Queens. There's also Ultralisks with chitinous plating, which seems counterintuitive since they can't attack upwards to hit air units. But when their armor is fully upgraded, the interceptors can barely harm them. Plus, they can survive storms, and if Protoss isn't careful, they can kill Nexus's entire economies at the same time as they're killing all those Templars. It's still a band-aid solution, though. If outmaneuvered, the Ultras just die, particularly if Immortals get mixed into the Protoss Death Ball. I think right now, for a lot of people, the preferred Zerg solution is still to try to end the game before Protoss can get to that late game composition. And the good news for Zerg is that it has a lot of weapons at its disposal to do that. Let's see how Scarlett will adjust. It's a best of 3. She's not out yet. Adjutant, if you would please.
The game begins now.
So, I was watching Barbie's Dream House on Netflix, as I often do, and I was delightfully surprised to see they had a Starcraft-themed episode, complete with a surprise reference to Cyril. But then I woke up and just realized the whole thing was a horrible dream. And speaking of horrible and truly despicable things, Even though he's ahead of game, Trap looks to be going for another hatch block. Don't ever change, Trap. Don't ever change. Though I have to say, Trap looked so on point in Game 1. His early harass was so crisp and so successful. He saved all his harass units and just picked up kill after kill. He didn't win the game with his early harass, but it did set him up nicely for the mid-game. Oh, Scarlett's doubling back. She faked me out here. She's not going for the unnatural naturals. She's going to retake her natural. So her hatch is going to be behind by a few seconds, but she gets it in the position that she wants. Meanwhile, Trap's gateway is down right on schedule. Scarlett hasn't lost any mining time though, so her extractor pool should be right on schedule. And it is, so maybe I better sneak in an intro. Pop quiz, tripwires, Punjabi sticks, and frank opinions about in-laws. These things are all a trap! Trap has won over $300,000 beating people at this game. Zerg is his statistically weakest matchup though. One more intro. Please don't expect our Zerg player to stick around in a hurricane or a gale, because she's gone with the wind. She is Scarlett! And it's very public knowledge that our Canadian Zerg player's weakest matchup is Protoss. This game's actually going to be the first opportunity I've had to cast Scarlett since she joined her new team, Shopify Rebellion. You'll notice Scarlett's pool completes earlier than her hatch does. Just a shade, but that's not how it normally goes. You can blame Trap for that. It doesn't stop her from going 2 queens, 2 lings, just as she did in Game 1. Core completes for Trap and he immediately starts Warp Gate research. He clearly doesn't buy into this newfangled fad where you delay it. He's also getting the classic chrono boosted adept, and there's his tech choice. It is a Twilight Council this time round. I've really been cluing in recently just how much dramatically faster it is than the other 2 options. Scarlett's Ling's gotta chase away that probe or her third could get delayed. Not gonna happen. Drone is going down. It's important to contaminate that gorgeous white beach sand. Or is it perhaps snow or yogurt? I'm never entirely sure. I think it's supposed to be like the crust of the moon bathed in light. That's what I'm going with. It fits the name of the map, Lightshade. Twilight Council's gonna complete. We're gonna see what Trap has in mind here. Absolutely nothing, apparently. He's just gonna add a gate, actually 2, and he wants to use his stalker to chase out that overlord. He can't actually get it, can he? That's a perching point. But Trap is scoring more hits than he's supposed to. That overlord is low, but Scarlett gets it to safety. She finds that midpoint. And Trap starts up resonating Glaves. It's a Glave rush. Just when you think it's starting to fall out of fashion, Trap is not ready to let this strat go. Although I feel like Zerg has gotten a lot better at defending this, it still gives players fits every now and then. Scarlett has no intel. That Overlord's hit points are just too low to sneak inside, especially with that Stalker waiting for it. And just like Game 1, Trap's kept his Adepts at home. He's keeping a door guard at all times. And it looks like while he's working on Glaves, he's gonna go ahead and try to take his third. Scarlett is somehow doing a very nice blind read on this. She's not making safety spores, and she is making a roach warren. I cannot tell you how, but she's acting like she's figured this out. She may have studied some info on how Trap likes to play this map. Now, I do notice that Trap has not gone ahead and made a robo, so I think that sort of means he's doing this on the cheap. He's not going to have a warp prism to back this up, and he doesn't even have a proxy pylon either. So what that means is he's risking very little, but he's probably less likely to achieve any damage here. His initial assault is going to be 8 Adepts though. That's not nothing, and Scarlett is not making roaches. She's going for a big round of lings. And we see she's going ahead and jumping to lair tech. I do not approve of defending this with lings, but we have seen more and more Zerg pros pull this off. Oh, Trap is getting a late robo now. Here's the shade. The lings go on the Adepts already with the queens. The natural's undefended, but Scarlett has really cut the initial numbers down. 5 drone kills for Trap, not a bad start. Protoss fires off a shade for the main. The lings pick it up, while the queens continue to do damage to the real McCoy. Scarlett's lings get the pin. Trap focuses on drone kills. He's sacrificing his units. It looks like it's going to be 8 Adepts for 8 drones. It is. Scarlett's down 12 workers, but she's not remaking them. She dumps all her money into a big round of roaches instead. Trap's making an immortal. He's anticipating. He does have a second wave of adepts coming. Oh, Scarlett intercepts them with her lings. She's dealing damage before they can even get to the mineral line. Oh, this is like a Zerg fantasy. Scarlett is just cutting Trap forces down. And look at this. The roaches are on the attack. They're changing into Ravagers. Trap's ahead by 18 workers. Scarlett is kind of all in here. If Trap can hold this, I think he might take the series. But he does not have much of an army. He's just an immortal with a couple of sentries. Trap hits the battery overcharge button at the third. It's a big blue button that says, "Save me!" The third is totally exposed. Scarlett's hitting the units before they can even warp in. Oh, and she gets a lynx around on the immortal. That's fantastic. Trap pulls his probes to defend, and Scarlett says, "Yes, please." Scarlett detects the pylon vulnerability. If those pylons fall, he takes out 2 of his 3 gates and his core. She's going right for it. Oh, I think Trap even loses his robo. He does. Protoss is completely overwhelmed here. The adepts try to help, but there's too many Ravagers. Trap GG's. We're going to a game 3. That was a fantastic read by Scarlett. Scarlett cut probes, figured out that her opponent did not have an army. She probably did not want to go to the late game with Trap 2 games in a row, and so this fit her agenda perfectly. The real secret sauce, though, was how she defended the Glave timing. She did it with queens and lings and got that quick lair. She made it look easy, but trust me, that is hard to do. Well, one convincing win for both our players. The winner will advance first out of their group. And that will all turn on this next game. Adjutant, if you would please.
The game begins now.
Game 3. 3 shall be the number thou shalt count, and the number of the counting shall be 3. 4 shalt thou not count, neither count thou 2, except that thou then proceed to 3. And 5 is right out. That's from the Holy Hand Grenade from Monty Python, for those of you who know of such things. And Game 3 is going to start out with a little mini-drama. Trap is going to try to hatch block once more after getting outfoxed in Game 2. I don't think he falls for that twice. I think he guards the natural this time. Scarlett could totally mess with him by going pool first, but we're not going to see that happen. Scarlett's going to get there first, but she doesn't have the 300 minerals. The drone diverts to the triangular third, and Trap is staying put. He claims this real estate for Protoss. And now he's going to verify that the third has gone down. It has. And although Trap hatch blocked, at least he had the decency to fully block this time. And while I'm making a big deal out of this, I should mention that Trap did get his gateway down at the usual time. And Scarlett will be getting her extractor pool right about now. Our Zerg player is the first person to ever win a Starcraft 2 tournament sponsored by the International Olympic Committee. She is Scarlett! She actually had to beat Cyril to do that, by the way. Here comes our Nexus core for Trap. Our Protoss player has actually won not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, but 5 premier tournaments already this year. He is Trap! And still Zugzwang won't cut him any slack. Poor Trap's like, what do I gotta do, man? What a year Trap is having. Okay, so the spawning pool is gonna complete just a hair before that hatch. But it's not gonna stop Scarlett from going 2 queens, 2 lings, I bet. 2 queens, 4 lings, that'll teach me. Trap's core is gonna complete. And he's gonna go for immediate warp gate research with a chrono boosted stalker. That might be because you can get vision of the perching point where the Overlord hides on Jaganatha. Trap's hiding his tech stashing pylon way in the back there. And he's taking his sweet time before he uses it. Scarlett sees that stalker coming and retreats over the water. And Trap is going back to Stargate. He won with that in Game 1. And Scarlett puts down her third at that natural position. Natural for a second, if that makes any sense. And if it does, congratulations, you speak Starcraft. You know, I'm sure that Mandarin and Farsi are impressive, but if you really want to impress me, speak Starcraft. So Scarlett starts to go for an Overlord trip, but changes her mind and pulls it back after she sees the Stalker. So she is not going to get vision of what Trap's up to. She didn't seem to need it in Game 2. In Game 2, she skipped the blind spores. Is she going to do that again here? If she does, it won't go as well for her as it did in Game 2, given the presence of that Stargate. Ling speed almost done, Stargate completes, and we're going to see a Void Ray. A chrono-boosted Void Ray. Perhaps we're seeing a rerun of Game 1. Trap busted out this beautiful Oracle Void Ray combo on Scarlett. Okay, Scarlett is going to make at least one spore. First one at the main. Void Ray, halfway done. Zerg coming up with an extra queen. Will that pylon reveal the Overlord position? No, not until it completes. Speaking of things completing, Trap's second gateway's finishing up. Scarlet Lings are running around, but they are not going to get in that door. They will catch the timing on the Protoss third, though. And once again, we will witness the Overlord back massage. A little to the left. No, that's too hot. See, that is why I don't go to massage parlors. Trap's third does go down, and his Oracle is going to warp in from that Stargate. That means he's going to have his dynamic air duo ready to go. The Oracle was very successful in Game 1. So was the Void Ray, and they both survived. This time, Trap is spacing them out to hit from two different flanks, like two different bases entirely. Scarlett actually moved her spore from her main to her natural, I believe. And she's making the Roach Warren. I'm getting quite interested in this opening. Let's see what kind of damage the Oracle can pull off here. Scarlett only has 4 queens. There is no spore at the triangular third location. Oracle with 2 kills diverts to the main, gets a creep tumor, and then gets chased out. No multitasking action from that Void Ray. Trap not quite getting the same magic as he produced in Game 1. Void Ray's gonna go it alone. There's a single queen and a spore here. Yeah, I really do think Scarlett physically moved that spore over. The Void Ray sacks his shields to pick up a drone kill. Not bad for Trap. Once again, he saved his units. Void Ray number 2 is done. Void Ray number 3 in production, and 4. It's double Stargate for Trap. Big round of roaches for Scarlett. I think I see what's going on here. Trap is looking for a redux of Game 1, the game that he won. Scarlett's looking to repeat Game 2, the game that she won. Look at that. Those roaches immediately turn into Ravagers. Scarlett's getting a lair. Trap going for +1 air attack while he pumps out those Void Rays. We'll find out who has the successful formula here. It's a Queen March. This could be a short one. These queens are slumming. They're not afraid to walk across the board on their own. Trap spots it with his Void Rays. He needed that. He immediately starts making 2 shield batteries. This is a 5-alarm fire. The same Inferno that burnt his house down in Game 2. Has he installed the extra extinguishers this time? He's gonna have a lot of Void Rays at his disposal. He's about to go up to 6. Trap thanks his lucky stars he didn't build at the triangular third position. He has totally dialed 911. He's making 5 shield batteries and 2 photon cannons. Scarlett is way down on drones. This battle could determine the game. Trap has got to get the hold. Scarlett is so good with her vials. And her transfusion. She saves a Ravager. The Floodlings are looking to get in that wall. Big bile hits on the core. Trap's trying to lure Scarlett into attacking his third where he's got fresh cannons. But she's not taking the bait. She's getting inside. Trap's only got 2 warp gates. He cannot make units fast enough. Still, he hasn't lost a single Void Ray. He's actually increased his count to 7. And as soon as I say that, he loses his first. Scarlett is making Lings 20 at a time. Queens 3 at a time. Trap being very efficient, but he's about to lose some hardware. Core is gone. Gate is gone. There is a bile storm in his natural. Scarlett is targeting the critical pylons. Trap has no functioning gates. He's trying to make 2 new ones. His robo goes down. Can Scarlett take this series? And here comes the probe pull. Trap looks so dead. He's losing probes everywhere, but still his Void Ray count is insanely high. He's starting to gut the queen. Scarlett is not reinforcing. She's actually gone and built a Hydra Den instead. Zerg realizes this attack could sputter. There are more Void Rays than queens. But still, the damage has been exceptional. Scarlett's actually making drones again. She's gonna transition. Trap is actually gonna pull off this hold, I think. But he's lost 23 probes. If he survives, does he really survive? Scarlett is gonna kill his natural without reinforcing. She's going for the Nexus. Without your probes, you won't be needing this. Dramatic pause and boom! Trap is down to 2 bases. Scarlett takes a 4th. But this could be a lesson in air supremacy. Trap has his shiny new 2 gates up. He's trying to make 2 more. He's making zealots, because that's all he can make right now till he gets a core. Scarlett decides she's done the damage she came for. She's getting out of there. Look at that. Hydra speed researching. Roach speed researching. Infestation pit. Trap is in a terrible spot. No economy. But he's got this unkillable force of void rays. Echoes of game 1. Scarlett stops droning and starts making a whole bunch of Hydras. The difference is this time, Trap has 0 splash. Not even an Archon. He has less splash than a perfectly still pool at a Zen spa. But if he can keep Scarlett busy enough defending, maybe he can rebuild. His shiny new core is done. He's gonna get himself a Robo. He's rebuilding his natural. This could be an incredible comeback. Make that double Robo with shield batteries to try to keep it alive. Scarlett makes 8 drones to try to load up her newest base. Trap has 10 Void Rays, probably not all by choice, and they're actually getting their shields back. Scarlett's only got 10 Hydras, though I feel like that number's gonna balloon up considerably. She's actually taking a 5th in the bottom corner right position. Oh, and she gets her Lings in for the complete scout of Trap's rebuild. The Zerglings take a little nibble on the shiny new gates. A little indecisive there, but Scarlett's busy macroing up Hydras. Trap will clean this up. I don't yet fully understand how that double Robo's supposed to get him out of this predicament. He is trying to research +1 air for his Void Rays. Scarlett's going sans upgrade. It's always an intense game when there's 0 numeric upgrades. Okay, Trap's adding a Robo Bay. I think that's his plan for Splash. It's double Disruptors or Colossi. And he's added the Fleet Beacon. He knows this composition flummoxed Scarlett in game 1. But in game 1, Scarlett did not have an army twice the size of Trap's. She has more than doubled his army, and she is looking to trade. It's wave 2, Hydra Ravager Queen. This will be tough for those Void Rays to handle. Trap has to turn back and head for his shield batteries. He has added in some sentries. Force fields could buy him some time. His Robo Bay is almost here. Battery overcharge is on. Scarlett sees it and pulls back, hoping to let it time out. But time is what Trap is over. He's working on double Disruptor. You know what they say, a Disruptor a day keeps the Hydras away. But Scarlett's pushing in anyway. She's actually transfusing her Hydras. Can Trap pull a second miracle out of his hat? The Biles keep forcing the Void Rays away. Zerg is cutting into the heart once again. The Disruptors get out, but they're actually trapped back there. GG! Trap concedes the series! Scarlett takes down the top power ranked Protoss in the world. And that puts her in a dominant position to get out of Group A. It's a big time upset. She's gotta feel good about that. So you have to give Scarlett props for adapting to Trap's play. She changed her game to Roach Ravager timing attacks, focused in on that sweet spot where Protoss is vulnerable to getting caught, investing in their economy and tech but not army. Hydras against 0 splash have always been so tough for Protoss to deal with. Just an intuitive game sense on display from Scarlett. Is this a sign of reemergence of the Queen of Blades? Can we all get back on that hype train? Time will tell. Thanks for joining me in this little esports moment. If you have a second, please consider hitting that subscribe button so my future vids have a shot at finding your feed. We've got some really interesting stuff planned coming down the pipe. Oh, and special thanks to some dude named Seafood is Good, who kindly started a Reddit thread in support of this channel in an effort to try to help round up some more viewers. This community is way too awesome. Anyways, You know how this goes? It's just not cheesy enough an ending to your video unless you have that exit line. So, from my base to yours, Zugzwang out. To continue your StarCraft journey, Nova advises you to click the video in the upper rectangle. But Kerrigan warns you to watch your 6 and click the video in the bottom rectangle. Or you can stimpack your StarCraft experience. Subscribe to Zugzwang StarCraft. Just hit the circle. From my base to yours, Zugzwang out.